What is the role leadership must play in culture change? We all hold some type of a role when it comes to changes in our culture, but the role that leadership plays is so very important. And I'm about to break it all down. Let's get it. Going through culture change at work can be tough, often changing the way that you get your work done, or even the type of work that you're doing. And the role that leadership serves in making that culture change sustainable is so very critical. By the end of this video, you'll be able to clearly explain what culture change is and who the leaders are in your organization. You'll better understand leadership's role in defining the culture changes necessary, and you'll better understand the critical role that leadership must play in making culture change stick. All right, let's first break down what is culture change. What does it mean to actually change the culture of a business or an organization? Well, culture is actually the byproduct of the behaviors, the words, and the actions of the majority of individuals that comprise an organization. And drilled a step further, it's the beliefs that those individuals hold. The commonly held beliefs that drive the actions, behaviors, and words of a critical mass of the organization. That's the culture of the organization. So again, it's a byproduct. And the levers that you really should be focusing on as you think about changing an organization's culture are what are those beliefs that need to change in order to create the words, the actions, and the behaviors that's going to paint and nurture the culture that you want to have moving forward. You know, I can remember doing some work through my consulting firm with a large pharmaceutical company, and they were going through a huge cultural transformation, striving to become more agile, having individuals more biased for action so that they could get their innovations out on a much more rapid pace to keep up with the ever-evolving industry and considering their consumer, patient, doctor demands. And so that required changes to the inherent beliefs in the organization and then the actions and the words that were then made manifest. So they had to move from this consensus culture where every single decision had to have 7 or 8 different levels of approval to really shrinking how many different levels of approval are required to move certain decisions forward. And so they stretched out the level of authority that individuals had across the organization to help make that decision-making process a lot quicker. Now again, these culture changes are oftentimes slow. They take time. Why? Because you're striving to change inherent beliefs or habits, right? And I'm sure you can think of a habit that you might have today that you're trying to break, right? And it takes you time because it's uncomfortable. You're used to doing it a certain way. It's the way you've always done it. And now you have to change that. You have to change that habit and develop and nurture a new one. And that's in large part why culture change can be so difficult. It's not only getting the habits changed within one individual, but often it's hundreds or thousands of individuals that have to change that habit. And it takes time to build critical mass and momentum towards that desired future state of culture. Now let's talk about identifying and understanding who are the leaders in the organization that you can lean on to help nurture and move the culture change forward. You know, so often when we think about leadership as it relates to business or as it relates to our work, we think about senior level executives. We think about anyone with the title with the C, right? CEO, CHRO, CFO. Maybe we think about their executive team, the presidents, the vice presidents, even the mid-level managers. But it's so important to understand that managers of others are also leaders, but leaders don't necessarily have to be managers. I strongly believe that leaders can sit anywhere in the organization. It can be that new hire that just started 3 weeks ago. It could be that lab assistant that's been working there for 25 years, never really having direct reports or having to manage anyone else. Leaders are simply those in the organization with the power to influence, the power and the skill to influence others. And so it's so important that you keep your mind open to who a leader can be in the organization. And when you see it as anyone throughout the organization with the power and the skills to influence another, you can begin tapping into those individuals, helping you lead that culture change. You know, as I talk about culture change and the fact that it's changing beliefs and the fact that it's changing habits and behaviors, It's important that you have as many leaders, as many influencers throughout the organization, sprinkled throughout, to help build that momentum, to role model the desired behaviors and build the momentum moving towards that culture change. So as we continue through this video, you're going to hear me refer to managers as it relates to change. And that means those individuals who actually manage others, who have direct responsibility for another employee. And you're going to hear me talk about leaders. That doesn't necessarily mean individuals that have responsibility for others or that manage others. Leaders are simply those who possess and practice the skill of influencing others. You digging this content? I certainly hope that you are. If you are, make sure you click subscribe. I do videos like this all the time. I want to make sure they hit your inbox as soon as they hit the web. So make sure you click subscribe, like, notification, click away, do it now. I'm kidding with you. You can do it whenever you want to, but please subscribe and you'll get more videos just like this. Okay, let's get back into it. Managers often serve as architects of a given culture change, though they might not personally be the one who had the brainchild or the idea of the culture change that's required. They do work in concert with their other managerial peers, mapping out what are the changes necessary to achieve the desired end state, right? How does this culture need to change in order to move the business forward, in order to meet our metrics? Just in the example that I offered before with that pharmaceutical company, how do we need to change this culture so that we can become more agile, more responsive, and deliver our innovations at a quicker, more rapid pace? So managers are often the ones that create that plan, making sure that it's succinct, that it's clear, and then have responsibility for communicating that out to the rest of the organization. Leadership's most critical role through culture change is role modeling. Role modeling the desired behaviors, role modeling the actions, role modeling those beliefs that you want to nurture as you think about the future state, as you think about the culture that you want to live in. And it's so important to identify those leaders, understanding where they sit across the organization, leveraging them to exemplify those behaviors so that they create this momentum. They create momentum towards gaining critical mass of moving forward with the desired behaviors. It is such a critical role that leadership can play, really any leader in the organization. And there's so many of us who have that skill and practice it of influence that serve as role models, whether we know it or not. People are watching you. And so the more that you can understand who are those really influential individuals around the organization, how can you really get their buy-in to the new behaviors that are required and then make sure they're exemplifying that, they're role modeling that, they're talking about how they've had success behaving in this new way to help build that momentum. It is so important. And for you yourself, I'm sure you're a leader sitting in your organization. Understand what are those changes, those behaviors that are going to be desired in the new state. Exemplify that. Role model it as best and as often as you can. Did you dig that? Did you get at least an ounce of value from it? Well, I've got something else for you, and it's for free. I want to give you a snippet of a keynote recording that I did for a client going through tremendous change and disruption, and specifically the portion where I was talking about leading others through change, the skills and the insights that you need in order to be effective in leading others through really challenging, complex change. And I want to give it to you today for free. All you got to do is click the link below. I want to make sure you have the data, the insights, and the perspective to ensure your fulfilled, sustained growth through even your most difficult change challenges. I'm Cassandra Worthy, and until we meet again, keep growing and keep rocking.